The Crimson Court is the first expansion for the award-winning Grim and Gothic RPG by Red Hex Studios. The Crimson Court enhances any Darkest Dungeon campaign with the addition of a new storyline, a dungeon, a new hero class, new monsters, new bosses, and the Fanatic, a wandering mini-boss. There's also trinkets for every heroes, new buildings, and more. It was released June 19th, 2017 from Red Hook Studios for $9.99. How do you want to approach this? Do we do our expectations first?
No, I've already played this. So Darkest Dungeons, I had this game when it was out in early access, and I checked before I started playing with the DLC, and I already had 116 hours in.
Ooh.
So I didn't. My expectations for this was I just downloaded it, and I'm like, okay, what's next? And what's crazy, and I was talking to you about this, Brian, before the show, but what is crazy is that I wasn't really 100% sure what was the DLC and what was just things that I hadn't seen come out yet since they did the full release.
Yeah.
I had played this so heavily in early access.
Sure.
So, so there's already, I think, without sidetracking too much here, Darkest Dungeon is one of the early access games that I've purchased that did a phenomenal job creating content, keeping to a schedule, and putting out a product that was enjoyable from the time it came out to the time it was, full release.
Yep. I'm right there with you. It is the model for Kickstarter early access. If they set the standard that a lot of people just simply don't reach. So going into it, I played a lot of Darkest Dungeon just like you. I think my own I booted up a lot of Twitch streams, getting ready for this just to kind of check out the dungeons and the expansions before I jumped in. And I think the biggest point I want to hit for my expectations is if you're a Twitch streamer and you're streaming Darkest Dungeon, can you stay away from the dankest pun? We get it. It rhymes with darkest. It's done with. Everyone's done it. Just stop. It's offensive at this point.
Is that your trigger? Is
yes.
Your trigger now?
Yes.
Dank?
Dank.
Oh, man.
And if you get...
now that I know your weakness,
well, if you
fucking screwed.
If you get a really good dank in somewhere and it's fitting and it's out of nowhere, you'll hit me and it'll be good. But if you're sitting on Twitch trying to find your fucking title... And you're like, ooh, dankest. Okay, I can do this. And
Look, Brian, I'm not going to use this in a clever way. I'm just going to follow you around and just say Dankest Dungeon, Dankest Dungeon, Dankest Dungeon, Dankest Dungeon. That's how I operate.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very excited about this now. You don't even know.
But yeah, my expectations were high. I mean, I enjoy the game, and I wanted to see the type of content that they were going to be including and what it was going to bring to the game.
Yeah.
So I was excited about it.
All right, let's kind of move into the things we liked about this game. What were some of the better points that you were experiencing in the DLC?
Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about with this DLC, it's definitely an expansion of the game itself. It's including a new class, new enemies, a new area. But it's following the same format outside of this Crimson Curse that takes place. And just so for people that haven't played this, I think we should describe a little bit of what this game is.
Okay. So Darkest Dungeon is a game where it's centered around building a party of 4 members, and you take your 4 members on these randomly generated dungeons. It is a turn-based strategy game similar to XCOM, but without the action. It's more of a old school RPG look to it, where you got your good guys on one side and the enemies on the other side. You get items. You have to manage not just the items in your inventory, but also which players you have will live and die throughout the thing, because losing members of your team is part of this game.
And it's very punishing, and the art is on point, the music is on point, the narration is on point.
Completely unique.
A little grindy, but an enjoyable grind. We all know that life.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of us.
We all enjoy the grind.
Some of us like a good grind,
Yeah.
And so this in general is just a really fantastic game. What the DLC brings is just a new, like we said, a new class, a new area. And so jumping into the new area the first time, I was like, where's the layout? What happened? Like this dungeon. So typically you see the entire dungeon floor and you can kind of map out what you want to do. I jumped in and I was like, 2 rooms? What a piece of cake!
I got this.
Not realizing that when I got to the second room, this was my first experience in the new area. When I got to the second room, it just expands, and then I had no clue how long it was going to go for.
Yeah.
And I had no clue what was going to happen next. And then, so, like, one of the things I really loved about that was it totally changed my comfort level.
Yeah.
That it was odd how much it changed my comfort level. Because I couldn't just plan it out how I wanted to. Everything was brand new. So I guess I love the way that they treated that new area. I think out of the DLC, the new area was my favorite. I liked the new enemies. I liked the difficulty that those enemies presented. I like the fact that there's now a boss that just can randomly show up. Which, by the way, I ran into him the first dungeon. I thought I was about ready to be done, and this guy kicked my ass and started killing all my people. It was infuriating. But I liked it.
I not to jump around like ahead of myself on here, but that's kind of something I disliked about this DLC was how everything was hidden from you. I think Darkest Dungeon is the planning aspect is my favorite thing. So I wasn't a fan of the mystery of the new dungeon and where everything was.
I was a fan of the shock that I felt when I was like running in. The rooms just kept going.
Right.
I started, they get paranoia in the game. These characters can have these negative attributes attached to them when they get too stressed out. So you're always managing stress in this game of your characters and of your party. And I started getting paranoid. So like that's when shit hit the fan. When I'm paranoid and I've got the character, my party's getting paranoid, it's like nothing was going well.
Right. One of the things I really loved about this expansion was the Flagrant. Is that how you pronounce the name of the new class? The Flagellant?
Flagellant? The Flatulent.
The Flatulent?
No, that's not.
I know. Now we're just making the shitty puns, too. We're part of the problem. He was a really good addition of a class. His mechanics are completely unique.
I hated him.
Why? He's so good, dude.
He's too hard.
No. Like, you have to use his HP, and the lower his HP goes, the more powerful he gets, and you have to manage that. And that is such a fun mechanic for me. I don't know, like, where you are on that. Like, how do you not like that? When he gets down to, like, 25%, he's like a beast, and he's like, killing everybody, then he's healing himself.
Yeah, that part is cool, but I don't know. He was just one of the more complicated, relationships in this game. I feel like, and I just don't like complicated relationships,
I like a simple man like the Crusader, okay?
I fucking love the Crusader. Come here, Reynald.
Reynald is my man. What else do you like about this expansion?
So it's weird. There was not one thing I particularly hated, and there was not one thing I particularly loved about the DLC.
Right.
Because everything that I enjoyed, I also hated. Because everything that they added in was just more punishing. I guess I enjoyed the shock factor. I enjoyed when I used to play this actively, it's like I got to the point where like you couldn't really phase me. I would run into a new boss and I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
And I might lose a couple characters, but I was fine with that because I normally named them after people that I knew, and I just killed off the ones that I didn't really like.
Oops.
So, oh wait, I'm sorry. Hopefully no one's listening to this. But like I was fine with it. The DLC definitely added these layers of complexity to the situation that I was just like not ready for. A part of me was like, I want the old way. I want to be good at this. I don't want these problems. Give me Reynald and just give me like a mushroom fungus plant thing that I need to fight. Like that's what I want in life. So in that vein, the Crimson Curse, it was frustrating to manage it. It was enjoyable, I think, but I was also just like screaming. I mean, I played this a lot, like, even today, and there was one point where I got up and I was just like, "That's it. I'm gonna go get watermelon." Because I just needed to treat myself.
Needed a refresher.
Nice. I needed something nice and refreshing to be able to deal with the pain I was feeling from trying to manage this Crimson Curse.
Sure.
And it's not like it's any easier to get money in this game. You use money to like buy better gear. You use money to like help your people go get whipped, or go get a whore at the brothel, or go get drunk so that they can relieve some stress. It's not like you're getting any extra money, so like managing these curses and everything was just, it was difficult.
It was. Before I move on to like what things I really disliked about this, very briefly I want to touch on the district, a part of the DLC. I wasn't able to play the game long enough to get and invest in the districts, but I love the idea. What it does, it adds on in-game content, so there's a reason to grind this game and really build up your inventory and your collection. And these things will add new stats to your characters, will give you better torches, like things like that. I think the districts was a fantastic stroke by the Red Hook. But moving into the things that we disliked about this game, kinda, because we're already been hovering around it. I think you're touching on the Crimson Curse. The blood mechanic is the worst thing that this game has ever done to me.
Did you like it though?
I hated it. Hated it.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely hated it, because what it did. Normally, there is this place called the Hamlet in Darkest Dungeon, and the Hamlet is like your sanctuary. It's your home base. Nothing can happen to you there. You go there, manage your team. They can they can stay there, relieve their stress. What this Crimson Curse does is that people get randomly infected while you're in the DLC zones with this Crimson Curse, and then they can come back to the Hamlet, and they can infect. I guess it's airborne or by touch. I don't know.
From that brothel, man.
From the brothel. It's medieval times, lambs aren't around in this game, I guess. So they are spreading this curse around, and you can lose your entire party, and I did, to this curse because I didn't know how to manage the blood mechanic. And all this was thrown at me so early into the game. I had no way to manage it, and I had to like completely restart my run, so I wasn't able to get into like further into the DLC as I wanted to, because my run was just destroyed. Having this thing come back to the Hamlet and having you manage it is such a game-changing move to this game, and I completely dislike it. And it makes me like, you get to load what aspects you want from the DLC, kind of, and I do not want this when I play it again.
Right, I can see that. I feel like they started tiptoeing around this even before, though. When they were in early access, they started including like, you could get negative attributes on your characters on your party members. I keep saying characters, party members, whatever. You could get negative attributes attached to them. Even just like if they drank too much, they could be like drunk, or they for multiple days you wouldn't be able to use them or whatever. They started making Hamlet not this just like total sweet like vacation spot early on, but this does take it to an entirely new level.
Like
it really does.
Your party can die just sitting at the Hamlet now.
Right.
And that's it makes managing the Hamlet and managing everyone's, like, first off, the blood like, you can manage the Crimson Curse with these blood drops, which are completely random. So you have
random drops on quest.
Yeah, so you can randomly get these to help manage it. And like it takes the Hamlet from being a strategy point where I can like rest characters to a point where it really did make it feel like a sluggish grind and just frustrating and not fun. And I really was surprised by that.
You sound like a weenie.
Come on, Monica. Stop. I just didn't like the game, okay?
No, I agree with you. The management of the Crimson Curse was something where it was just like, it made me feel emotions.
Yeah.
I like when a game makes me feel things. I would prefer it to not be rage.
Yeah.
For hours on end. But I can deal with that. At least I'm feeling something, But yeah, I don't know. Everything on this was just like up and down for me. But I feel like that is this game, and I feel like that's the beauty of it. But I can get behind you. by saying that the management of the Crimson Curse is extremely brutal. It adds this. It is when you play this, you become the flagellant because you feel like you're just fucking whipping. You know
Yes.
what I mean? But the like I said, the only thing the management of the Crimson Curse just felt challenging to me. Like I really wanted to be able to master it. The flagellant class, I wasn't a huge fan of it, like I said. So that was kind of the only thing in the DLC that I didn't really enjoy. But I guess to cap off what I didn't like about it is $10 edition. You know, I do think that the content that it adds is fun, and I love this game already.
Yeah.
So like, I love supporting them. I love supporting what they do. But I just don't know that the DLC content was anything that I needed. You know, looking back, like it's like, did I really need this? Am I completely stoked that I have this DLC? I'm on the fence with that.
Okay, so give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on this sucker.
I am. Don't kill me, people, but I am actually going to be a thumbs down on this.
Whoa.
Whoa. I do love Darkest Dungeon, but as a DLC, this was an expansion. It was a good one, even. It was a good DLC, but for me personally, I didn't need it. I didn't need this in this game.
Right.
What about you?
I'm gonna go thumbs up. It's not that I didn't need it, but it definitely got me to pick up Darkest Dungeon again. It got me re-interested in the game. I hate the mechanic of the curse. I think they're already starting to change it. They're pretty responsive to feedback from the community. I think they'll change it a little bit, hopefully, even with that. I do think for $10, if you're a Darkest Dungeon fan, you're getting into the Crimson Curse. You want the more content. The Districts is a great in-game content for that, where you can really put the time in and have it pay off. So thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I guess I am a huge fan of the Darkest Dungeon. So even though I'm not madly in love with the DLC, I would have bought it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like one of those things where it's like I'm a super fan, so I have to like have it just to prove that I enjoy
You're a
the game.
gatekeeper.
I am. I'm just a little hipster when it comes to this one. But I also. I'm glad that I own it, but I don't. I think just like the vanilla Darkest Dungeon, it does it for me, you know.
Yeah, sure.
It's like we expanded into some like weird stuff with it, and it's like, oh, let's try something new. And I'm like, you know what? I like you just the way you are.
I like missionary. Okay, let's just keep going missionary Darkest Dungeon.
You took it there.
What?
I was beating around the bush, but you know what? It's fine.
Yeah, no. All right, so Darkest Dungeon, thumbs up, thumbs down from us. You can find it on Steam for $10, $9.99 from Red Hat Studios.